All right, 1977, Eraserhead was a release. So it finally finished up. Started in 1972, maybe 71. There could be a rumor of 70. Okay, 1970, but probably 1971. Really started off 1972. They finished it up. No, let me go back. It was started in 1970. The film was started in 1970. It finished up in 1976. And then there was post-production until 1977 on the release. And they gave out birth certificates. So that, they're Massachusetts. So Lynch threw papers. He was a newspaper guy. Newspaper boy. He was a newspaper boy. And he had a cast of characters, probably around 5 actors, that stayed with him for 5 years. And they were the artistic art house directors, or they were artistic art house movie makers. He was a filmmaker. And it was an artistic thing. They were like artistic fugitives of Hollywood. They hid. He only spent money to make the film and to develop the film. He also used every penny for it. So he lived on set. They lived in a mansion that represented the American Film Institute. He was invited to go there from Philadelphia as a painter. He made movies called Alphabet and Grandmother in Philadelphia. He also started with some kind of people screaming, some men screaming, and paint and a siren going on, paint dripping down, and these weird films that they thought, well, we need to get a hold of this guy. He goes to AFI when AFI was very young, and there's a studio mansion next to AFI that were like horse stables. That's where he lived illegally. He was shut inside this set, and then they put a door. They put like a board over the door, so no one would know that was a door to get inside. And Lynch was in there hiding for 5 years. Now, the filmmakers, or the actual AFI people, were highly against it. They did not want to graduate David Lynch to the next year. And a man resigned that was the head of the studio. He said, if you continue on, or we give 1 penny to Eraserhead, then I'm resigning. And he did. He walked away from the whole school and everything. They saw David Lynch as a complete idiot. They saw him as a renegade. No one, that he would never be a filmmaker in a million years. He became the best filmmaker that we've ever really had. Probably the greatest filmmaker of all time. Compared to Fellini and Ingmar Bergman, far better than any filmmaker in Hollywood today, and every filmmaker would agree to that, even Woody Allen. No one can touch him. Now, he hid for 5 years, and they made things. They made one thing they made that a lot of filmmakers don't ever make is they made puppetry. They made a little monster baby that they had a name for. I don't know the name of it. I've heard rumors of different names. For some reason I want to say Edgar, but I don't think that's the name they gave the baby. But it was the baby of the Henry, who was a character played by Jack Nance, who it took him a long time to get Jack Nance. They finally did get him, and he was assaulted in front of a donut shop years later, many years after the original Twin Peaks, and many years after Eraserhead. But they got him and they killed him. They hit him really hard in the face. He went home and then died of the head injury. But he was in front of a donut shop, and there was something that went on. Regardless, David Lynch hid with his team. They were a dedicated team, and he would also go out to restaurants and work. He doesn't remember this because he was starving, and they would give him food. Now, he also would get food by going to these like gas stations and these places where you get like ice cream and things like Slurpees, and he would ask if he could drink some of the sugar mix, because David Lynch does not do Hollywood's drugs. He will smoke the cigarettes and he'll drink the coffee, and he likes the cherry pie, but he doesn't do the drugs. That makes them very mad. but he does like the cherry pie. But he's right there with all of them, and better. And he has this thing, that he knows about. But anyway, I met him. He's pretty interesting. I talked to him about script writing. He said everything was scripted. Now, everything was scripted on Eraserhead. I have the script. I posted it on my Facebook. Took photos of it and posted it. It talks about fear. So this movie got so much attention from the other filmmakers, not from public. Public didn't catch on till way later, maybe the 80s, maybe the mid-80s, maybe not even till the 90s, right? That they really found this thing to be a masterpiece, which is Eraserhead. It has a song and it goes, in heaven, everything is fine. In heaven. Later, a punk rock band called the Pixies would cover that song, In Heaven. Then, way later, a band called the Linda and Cole Band, also known as the Cole and Linda Filmmaker Band, and Peace Child Beautiful, now known as the Amateurs, they would also do a cover, and it would be released on SoundCloud with very low views. So we did a version of In Heaven. But Lynch wrote music for Eraserhead, so he was a musician, but he was also a painter. So he painted the set. They created the puppet that was the little monster baby. And yeah, it would take a long time without funding. Yeah, 5 years. There's a lot of shots in there that are just nearly unexplainable. Even today, they work. They're very even hard to explain. It's all black and white, but some of those shots could have taken months to get going. And don't even know how some of they did. The elongated neck of the monster. The monster comes back. There's like it's also set like on another planet or something. They don't really know. Some say another planet. But it was a striking piece. It's the one film that I sit down and talk about with actors. I talk about this story that I think they should make a narrative. Maybe later. I mean, I don't know if Lynch would allow it, but a lot of weird things went on the side of that movie when they were driving around and going to some, I think they went to different, sometimes they went to different states or picked up some different people that were helping along with the film. There were several different people that helped along with it. Jack Nance was one of them. Jack Nance, I don't know the story, but it has been told. It happened a long time ago after Twin Peaks, because I think he was part of Twin Peaks as well. He was an actor that worked with David Lynch. He was outside of a donut shop, and some guys approached him. There's a skate park right here past 15th, Northwest 15th. Anyway, they approached him. Something went on, and it led to them hitting him very hard in the face or head. Either he fell down or something happened. He went home, and then he died. So it has been vlogged by Scott on tape. But anyway, Lynch did work with these people, and a lot of them are still around. Sissy Spacek was somewhat involved with Eraserhead. She got involved with Straight Story way later, but her husband was involved in Eraserhead. Her husband was. He was the guy that turns the handle at the very beginning and the cogs start up. It looks like he's got all this like skin hanging off of him or something. Anyway, so Lynch wanted to do it in his style, is what he was wanting. He wanted to do the movie in a certain type of style, and that became known as Lynchian, which is kind of, All right, so Eraserhead finished up in 1977. Now, Mel Brooks saw it, went over to David Lynch, kissed him on the cheek, and said, "You're mad, or you're a complete nut. We love you." Okay, so he became accepted because he went and saw it. They premiered it right there in Hollywood somewhere. I think it was only shown at like one movie theater, but everyone went and saw it because they heard the rumor of how long it took. Now, Mel Brooks gave him an assignment, and that was Mel Brooks gave him an assignment, and that was Elephant Man. Okay, so he wanted to bring him into the studios, so they sent him basically to England to make Eraserhead. And the reason why is, I'm sorry, not Eraserhead, I'm sorry. Cut that. There was no post-productions until the opening of Eraserhead. That was all done in California, sorry. Elephant Man. So we're talking about Elephant Man. So they both start with E's. So afterward, Mel Brooks decided we got to send him out to do the Elephant Man in England. Anthony Hopkins got on board, one of the great actors of the time. He even became a greater actor after that. But they knew Anthony Hopkins was a great actor. And they also knew that John Hurt would rip it up too. So they got John Hurt into the costume of the Elephant Man. They wanted to approach John Merrick and the Elephant Man in a way that was auteur and not just a filmmaker simply telling the story. They did not want the Elephant Man simply to be told. You know, like these filmmakers that are like, just tell the story, don't be artistic. That's not what they wanted with the Elephant Man. They wanted it to be style. They wanted choices to be made that were from a perspective of a person that was accepting the story, and it's about situation. Elephant Man is not just about a freak. It's about situation. It is about situation. So you're looking into a room, right, and you're seeing the Elephant Man exist in a way that no other filmmaker could have grasped that understanding. So that you're seeing something that reflects possibly, and I have to say it, God. That's the level they wanted to approach the Elephant Man. And they could not find any director but Lynch to do it. 702.6.2.5, this is a redo. All right, so back to the Elephant Man in England. When I mean situation, I mean that in a very specific way. So it's not just about a freak and the whole aspect of a freak, because there's a lot of films that kind of are that, but it's about the situation of John Merrick and then the things that are going on around him. So he's just existing in the room. The nurse walks in. He's existing in these different places. They move him around. He's in a lot of almost in every shot. So it's how he's situated in the room and how people are around him. It's environmental, nearly documentary. But it's how the people respond to him that's consistent in the entire movie. Their character arc, you could say there is some monologues and stuff there. It is kind of written like there's a play called The Elephant Man. That's a little bit different. Pinhead is in it and things like that. But in every circumstance that the Elephant Man or John Merrick is in, the situation is different. So when he's being beat by the owner and he's at the freak show and he has to behave a certain way, that's a certain situation. When he's taken back to the hospital, the environment changes, so his situation changes. Do you see what I'm saying? That Lynch can find out what is really going on, as opposed to another filmmaker that would just kind of tell the story and focus on plot and maybe even focus on character. That's not what he did. And also how they built the costume and the makeup was so method, you could say, in a way. It was so intense that makeup and all that stuff, I think they may have gotten some awards and everything. So when you would see the movie, you were like changed by what you were looking at, just like people were changed by what they looked at when they saw John Merrick, and just like people were changed when they saw Eraserhead, the movie Eraserhead. They were changed by it. When you see a freak of nature, it becomes about situation. it's not necessarily just about the freak, you know. You're usually not a freak, but the freak would be in the room, you know, and then that would change the environment around the situation of freak, of John Merrick, you know. And, you know, in modern day society today, you know, back in the day, when John Merrick was in public, the women would be like, ah, you know, they'd be screaming and stuff, because they didn't have social media. They didn't have education on what they were looking at. They saw what was known as a monster and would start screaming. Today, that wouldn't happen at all. Now, they do have masks and things like that. I've seen them in drugstores. They do have freaks out there. They will sometimes wear a mask, or they will cover, like the Elephant Man did cover himself. But the situation and the time that John Merrick was in was different than today's situation when it comes to a freak. Because some of them are even movie stars. We just don't really know it, or really maybe not even care. He was, to that level, he was famous. People would pay to see him. He was freakish. He was a man. Bradley Cooper described John Merrick as a man dealing with being a man, but yet he was a man. You know, he struggled. Yeah, he talked about struggle. There's struggle in it, yeah. So it was about struggle, too. It's about a lot of things, more than just situation. But it's also about struggle, and it's about a man that's a freak, okay, that's struggling with being a man. I think that's in Elephant Man's with Lynch, too. But Lynch brings in an environment, too. It's about environment. The Elephant Man's about environment. And about, you know, the gas lamps. It's more than just John Merrick, too. Some even say there's like a demonic, they always say that about a lot of this stuff. It's not as evident as like Twin Peaks, but if there's a demonic effect of John Merrick, if there was some kind of demonic thing, like what was the reason for it? What was he saying? Now, he does talk about God. John Merrick does mention God. John Merrick mentions how he feels about things, how he feels that he was maybe wronged. And then there's an ultimate moment where he has to do this Christ-like thing, like he has to die. And what's cool about what Lynch does, and I don't know if it's in the movies, and I don't know if it's in the play, and I don't know if it's in the biography, but he shows a drawing. And I always remembered that drawing since I saw the movie. And the drawing shows how he would sleep. So it was a diagram of how he should sleep, like a man should sleep. And that's how he dies. He finally sleeps like a man and then dies. It is very, very intense and heightened, and it's far over what other filmmakers can't touch that kind of thing. The Elephant Man is a masterpiece by far, you know, this Lynchian masterpiece. And it's a very serious look. So if they got a regular filmmaker to do that, they wouldn't have got any of those qualities. And the movie would have been about something else, just like the play is about something else, right? So he was trying, I don't know, to be honest. There's a mysterious element of the Elephant Man on what he really was trying to say. But it would be interesting to ask him that question, you know, what do you think you guys were really trying to say about John Merrick or about the Elephant Man and what was going on? And I think somewhere in there would be God or religion or something and then maybe science and nature. There'd be something maybe mentioned, maybe, or maybe not, you know, maybe it wouldn't be mentioned. All right. So what's interesting about the Elephant Man also is transcendentalism, going all the way back to Henry David Thoreau, and also nature. So nature is at hand in the Elephant Man. The situation of nature. And the fight against nature. This was the shot that I missed the first time. And that's like a nice way, and I don't think the other filmmakers would have got it as much. I really get that when I watch it. I think of natural science and nature, and like, where did this come from? And like, you know, we have to realize, and it's been studied. It was true. The Elephant Man is true. He was a monster. He was a freak. They did pay to see him. He was at a circus. They would go in and they did make profit off of him. The doctor, all of that, the doctor, everything became a priceless dynasty, even today, that is priceless. We're talking, you can't buy it. You cannot buy his bones. The amount of money is an enormous amount of money. He was royalty, but he wasn't at the time. He was a freak. He was even picked on and almost, you know, killed because of his freakness. But what resulted of that was beyond diamonds. It was a great empire. The John Merrick empire, the dynasty, is enormous. It's in museums. It's a big, big deal. And really, there's hardly anyone of England and hardly anyone of Europe that has not heard of the name John Merrick. This is a big project for a filmmaker. He took it on very nicely. Even though Lynch usually is auteur, he likes to write his own stuff. It comes out of thought, his own idea. It comes out of ideas. There's a lot of ideas in The Elephant. All right, so you could say John Merrick is unnatural, even though he was born naturally. He was a man that breathed naturally. So there's a fight. There's a fight between, is he unnatural or is he natural? That would be the thing. Now, if John Merrick was an actor, which he was a freak show actor, how would he stand? How would he behave? Would that be considered natural? Could he do Shakespeare? He quoted Shakespeare in the movie. But the thing is that is the thing. That is the rub with almost everything. The natural and unnatural aspect of things. I immediately think of Silence of the Lambs. I know it sounds crazy, but there's a moment where they're questioning the behavior of course, the freakish behavior. He wasn't a freak, but of Buffalo Bill. And did they say unnatural death? They say something like that. Jodie Foster is talking to her superior, which is John Glenn, and they say something like unnatural death. I'll have to go back and watch it. But it always rings a bell. I listen to dialogue. It always rings a bell. You know, was what was going on with John Merrick, was that like was that almost a crime, you know, of nature? Like a crime of nature. I know we're not dealing with murder when we're talking about Merrick, but we almost did. You know, if you watch it, it almost deals with that. All right, I figured it out. In Silence of the Lambs, they say wrongful death. I was getting it kind of mixed up. I don't know if it deals with, if the Elephant Man deals with wrongful death, but he does die because he tries to mimic a painting of how he should lay down. It could almost be what's known as a wrongful death of John Merrick. 727.7 3.4.